Bam. How are you? So, am I 15 minutes late? Yes. But I'm actually more than that. I'm like, I don't know, 2 hours late. Let me check and see, make sure I've got, let me make sure I've got it going. I can see that I can see, and you can see me, and now I've got that figured out. So, yeah, I'm late. I guess, sue me. I don't know what to say. Today, a little bit of a, I would say surly today. I have not had a good run today. Nothing indicates that today's going to be a very solid day. So we will act accordingly. So my goal in the morning is to produce a live stream, and my goal is to produce is at 9 a.m. Monday through Saturday. After the live stream, I cut all the edits, and then I put together a podcast, and then the rest of the day can happen. I can show houses. I can do whatever I need to do, and then sometimes at night I do another live stream because I kind of like to live stream. The only problem is I don't see anybody streaming with me, so I just continue to be in this forest of quiet. It's just me. There's no one here. Here, I can watch. I'll type in the chat and like. Should see it. There you go. Bam. Well, actually, I don't know if you can see it. I can do that there. Anyway, that's what I do. So I do. I do the real estate business. I'm a real estate agent in St. Louis, Missouri. My name is John Schenk, and that's what I do. Now, if you were drawn here by the title of my video, well, we'll get to that. But we kind of have to start off with why I'm late. And let me just go over my morning for you so that you can, really feel like you're a part of something, a community, if you will. Okay. Last night I went to bed around 11 o'clock, 11:30 maybe, sleeping soundly. I don't sleep well as it is, but anyway, sleeping soundly. All of a sudden I hear this knocking at our bedroom door. Then my wife jumps out of bed and she's like, what? And so immediately I figured out that it was the dog on the other side of the door scratching. And so as he's scratching, his leg is hitting the door and it's making a noise. So my wife wakes up scared to death. I wake up because my wife's scared to death. And then now I'm awake. And you may say, well, that's not, that happens. You should let that go. And I agree. And I just want you to know that I feel like I'm one of those people that can let things go on a fairly regular basis. Okay. Then I was talking to a friend the other day, and I woke up and I saw some more stuff about it, but they're listing their house. And as a real estate agent, that's a great thing, listing your house for sale. Unfortunately, it's not with me. So that's good. In this market right now, you really, really, really want to have more buyers than sellers, because then you can drive around all day long, every day, and show houses, and then have people not make offers, or if they do make offers, not get the house. So you really want a lot of buyers like I have right now. And, you don't want a lot of listings, because that's where you could actually make some money. No. You want all buyers. And so that's what I have. And so I'm constantly reminded about how great it is when my friends list with other people, so that I can continue to do the same thing, drive around every day and show houses and not get them under contract and have people not be interested in buying them. It's great. Then I have, as we were talking about buyers, I need to set showings for the day. I have to drive all over St. Louis. And one of the places that I need to go is way out in West County, and then I need to be in South County. And I need to set those showings. Usually you need about 2 hours before a showing to confirm it. And so last night I asked one of my buyer clients, hey man, do you want me to set those showings? You've talked about these houses for a couple of days. And then I got nothing. So now I can't set the showings. And then I got on Facebook when I woke up, and then I noticed that I had been on a listing appointment at this house, and it did end up being a successful listing for someone else. They have clearly chosen someone else. And you may say, well, John, I can see why they chose someone else. You're somewhat salty this morning. You're somewhat unpleasant. Well, I mean, now you can see I've lost 2 listings and I'm running around with a buyer trying to confirm something. And I haven't slept well. I mean, it's going well. And then after that, one of the best things in the world to do is to set showings and then have the agent that's listing the house cancel those showings. So about 2 weeks ago, I set a showing for Memorial Day weekend. And it was ready to go to that showing when it was canceled. So I talked to the agent. I said, hey, did the house go under contract? Did something happen? And they said, oh no, we're just on vacation and you can see it next week. And so I scheduled them. Okay, great. I can understand that. I mean, you could have just put it off. You could have blocked the time off in Marist, but whatever. Right. Whatever. So I set a showing again for this week, Friday. And of course, this morning I wake up and that showing is canceled. So these people are clearly not interested in selling their house. I don't even know why it's on the market. I really don't. I mean, why are you wasting everyone's time? If I can't even get a showing after a week and I've tried twice and you cancel it, I'm just not going. I'm not going. I'm not sending my buyers. And if anybody else asks me, I'm going to say these people can't get their shit together and can't get the house ready to show. There's something wrong with them. They probably should unlist their property because it's just ridiculous that I can't get a showing. I mean, come on. You're in the hottest market ever and you can't even arrange a showing for your house. It's ridiculous. Like what is wrong with you? So that made me a little bit upset, because I really like spending time setting up showings and then having them be canceled at the last moment. I mean, that's really what I want to do today. On top of everything else, I want to, schedule a showing, tell my buyers that I'm ready. It takes, maybe 5-10 minutes to go schedule a showing. You may think it's no big deal, but when you schedule 50 showings or something, I mean, it's like hours. And so it's like, it's ridiculous. I hate it. I want nothing to do with it. And it just pisses me off. So anyway, I mean, that's where I'm at. So feeling pretty down. I mean, 2 listings lost. Can't show a house that I want to show today that I've told my buyers about twice. I just didn't feel real great waking up, like not had a lot of sleep. And then I got my live stream at 9 and I'm like, I'm not ready for this. So what do I need to do? I need to do something to get myself in a better frame. And so I went to McDonald's. I got myself an egg McMuffin and you can see it's here. I really did. And people may say, well, you can't eat, like that's not good for your, you're not supposed to eat fast food. That's bad for you. I don't really care at this point right now. I'm angry. I will eat what I want. Like I'm tired. I'm tired. And you say, I thought about this because again, I'm 2 hours late to my live stream. Why don't you, what would you say would be a good way to wake up in the morning? Well, the first thing would be I would sleep through the night. That'd be nice. Second thing is when I look at my social media, like I got a listing instead. Like I got a listing, or I got an email that said, "Hey, I'd like to have you list my house." That'd be nice. I mean, really, those are the things that I would like. Hey, maybe an offer that we wrote on a house made it through. Like we actually got it accepted. Like, hey, I'm 20 grand over asking. I'm 30 grand over asking. It's not going to appraise, but I don't have an appraisal writer in there. But you know what? Hey, I got one accepted. That'd be nice. It's like I don't feel like I'm asking too much. I'm in the real estate business. I'm trying to sell houses and I'm trying to help buyers buy houses. And I would just like some success with that. Like those two things. What's causing problems with me now in the back of my mind is I'm doing a lot of business that's not related to actually getting something accomplished. And what I mean by that is I have to show houses to have people write contracts. Okay. But because of the way the market's set up, I show houses, I write contracts, we don't get houses. And so I just do it over and over and over again. And on the listing side, it's like I get no listings because the buyers that I would have that would be listing their properties can't buy a house. And so I'm in this odd situation where I can't do anything except for schedule showings, have them be canceled, and watch other people get listings. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is my business. My business is to help buyers buy houses, help sellers sell theirs. That's what I do. It's not, I don't drive around showing houses all day, every day, just to write an offer that no one's going to accept. Like, that's not my business. That's a different business. And that's the current business that I have. And that business sucks. I would not want to be in that business. But here I am. Here I am. It's just bullshit. It just gets old and I get tired of it. I get tired of waking up every morning and the same damn thing happens. Somebody calls me and says, hey, let's go look at this house. Absolutely. Would love to go show the house. Let me get it all scheduled and have it all ready for you to go see the house. We go see the house. Oh, you know what, John? I really like the house. I'd like to put an offer on it. Okay, let's write an offer. So what are we going to need to get this house under contract? Well, to be honest with you, it looks like houses are selling for between 105 and 110% above asking. Okay. So we need to be in that range to write an offer. Okay. So let's do that. So we write an offer between 105 and 110%, maybe even 111% over asking, just so we can get the house. And then what do we get at the end of the day? We have to wait 3 or 4 days for the seller to make their decision because the sellers are so wonderful. They can wait for 3 days and we can just sit around and twiddle our thumbs while they come up with a decision. And guess what? We don't get the house. Over and over and over for months. Months. You say, well, I know other people that have gotten houses, John. You're just not writing the right offers. I've gotten houses sold in this time. Okay. Just because I get 1 of 10 contracts accepted doesn't make it okay. So I don't know. What is your professional obligation when you list a house? Okay. And then you don't let anybody see it. Like, what is your professional obligation? Or you agree to showings and then cancel them as the listing agent? Should you call the agent? Like, should the listing agent call me right now and say, hey man, I know you're trying to sell this house and I really, really appreciate it, but my seller's an idiot. My seller doesn't know what the hell they're doing and they're just obviously pissing you off. And I apologize. And here, can we show it on this day? And right now, after canceling twice on me, I'm kind of at no. I don't want your house anymore. I don't care. If it's this hard to schedule a showing, can you imagine negotiating a contract for sale with someone that can't even get a fucking showing? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Didn't mean to curse. But seriously, salty language, I apologize. God. Now I'm going to be down. Now the 17 people that watch me aren't going to be able to see my live stream. It's terrible. I feel awful about this. Maybe it'll be banned. Ban my show. Shadow banned. Because YouTube has time to spend on my live stream with 4 people. It's stupid. The whole thing is stupid. So I had a McMuffin, and I said to myself, "Look, you're gonna prepare a show, and you're gonna do a good job, regardless of what happens, John. You don't deserve this level of ridiculousness, right? You're a good guy. You're doing your best in a challenging situation, That's what I like to believe. It was bizarre. I went to one of my kids' graduation parties, and it was like, an award ceremony, and all these kids are walking on down the the graduation, I'd say like 12 of them want to be real estate agents at 18. And I'm like, and by the way, I hear this all the time. People are like, oh, you want to be a real estate agent? Oh, you make so much money. Oh, your wallet's so fat. We all just want to make all this money. Do you think people haven't figured this out? Like, do you understand that I'm competing with like thousands of agents in St. Louis? Thousands for a listing. How many listings do you think come up in a week? I mean, it's not thousands. So there's a lot of agents not doing a lot of business. And yet, you know, everyone says, oh, jump into real estate. It's great. Make all this money. It's not great. It's not great. I'll tell you right now, it's not great. Right now, it's not great. Not great. When you go for 6 and 7 months, and when you drive and go to appointments on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock, whatever the hell time, and you have to space out the showings for different buyers. So you have no time on the weekends for yourself. You have no time during the week for yourself. It's just stupid. And that's the business that you're getting in. I mean, sure, try it. Maybe you're going to do better than I do. And you know what? It's quite possible. I've never been particularly good at anything. I don't think. Sarcasm, maybe. But at this point, 44 years old, you know, at some point you just gotta just say, look, I'm not very good at anything. I mean, clearly. So, except being angry, I can do that all day long. So yeah, that's the day. Is it gonna get better? Well, I've scheduled 2 showings in South County, and then I have to go to West County, which can be like 45 minutes away. And then I set like 45 minutes in between the 2 showings, so I might not get to the other one on time. And then I've got some more showings tonight, and I don't know that's going to get. How does it get better? All 3 buyers decide they want to write an offer on a house. Okay, so I write offers on these houses. Okay, now I've got on Monday evening, I get to tell 3 buyers that they're probably not going to get the house, and maybe one of them does get the house. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I don't know, but I got more showings tomorrow with different buyers and more showings on Sunday with different buyers. And it's just like, great. Scheduled a showing with buyers. And that's not to say I don't love my buyers. Don't get me wrong. It's not my buyer's fault that the market is stupid. You know, it's not my fault. It's not their fault. Market's dumb. You know, I appreciate them calling. I appreciate people asking me to list their houses when they do. I had people call me this week to ask me to list houses. It's just, it hurts when you have lost opportunities. Right now, you want to have listings. I have a bunch of buyers. This is what I'm into. So anyway, well, we're about 18 minutes in. I don't know if I'll get everything in order as far as what I need to do. Be interesting to see if I get, and it will be interesting to see if then this one gets shown. Let's talk about something that I found fascinating that on Twitter yesterday, and we're going to try and go into a deep dive on it. I don't know how accurate I'll be with it. I don't know how. I have thoughts. I have opinions, and I want to share them with you, but I don't want to. I don't know how to explain it. Let's just go to it. Okay, what I'm gonna do it a certain way. Okay, I'm there. All right. I kind of like this one better. Okay. Can you see up at the top? It says this came out, I think it says June 2nd. So yesterday it says, America needs to end its love affair with single family homes. One town is discovering it's a tough sell. Now, I don't know if you know what Time Magazine is. If you're 20 years old, you probably don't realize what Time Magazine is or was. Okay. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to explain to you what this was. So Time Magazine, there were all these magazines, and what magazines are is they're these printed pieces of paper that you get either by a subscription So like I want a monthly or weekly subscription to this magazine. Or when you go to doctor's offices, auto repair shops, things of that nature, they would have these magazines and they would put them on like a little table. And then while you were waiting for your service, you would be able to read these magazines. Now in a doctor's office or a dentist's office, if you're a kid, they would have like toys you could play with, like group toys you could play with. And then they'd also have children's magazines. These were magazines written specifically for children. And then they have the adult magazines, but not nearly as many in the dentist's office or the doctor's office if it's a pediatrician or somebody at pediatric dentistry. I've never figured out that was kind of a bad thing for parents. Poor parents have to take their kid to the dentist and then they don't even get to read a good magazine. But anyway, there was this magazine Time. I don't know if it's still in print. I don't know that it's still relevant in any way. At one point, it was significant. Okay, they had a lot of sway. If you were on the cover of Time magazine, that meant something. But with the advent of the internet and what I would call like kind of sensationalism, they jumped the shark long ago. And now they've been relegated to a digital space on, Twitter, and they write articles that are sensational, hoping to get clicks, and then they can get, money from ads or subscriptions. But they did a great job here with this one for clickbait. America needs to end its love affair with single-family homes. One town is discovering it's a tough sell. So I disagree virulently with the concept that America needs to end its love affair with single-family homes. I'm very tired of people telling me, an American, what I need to do. I've had enough. In my lifetime, America has not done better. In my lifetime, America has just gone worse. So I don't want anyone to tell me what America needs to do. I don't like anyone speaking for America at all. So that's me. That's my reaction. But let's see in the tweets. Now, one of the biggest problems is with these types of headlines is people don't read the article. So maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe there's something in the article that leads me to believe that, hey, things are good, that this was just a mistake, a misprint, if you will. This is just like a kind of a thread of the article, but then let's go in to see some of the comments. Okay. The first one here says, this is where an organization like Habitat for Humanity would be very beneficial for the folks who truly want their own affordable single-family home. Putting in their own sweat equity would go a long way to reducing building costs. Let's be honest, they're not going to let you build your own house. That's not good enough. The bank won't secure that loan. Next comment says, my guess is I won't be living next to the Obamas or the Clooneys in multifamily housing. The rich and powerful will still have their 25-bedroom oceanside compounds. This is always how communism works. And it says, this one here, it says, urban heat islands show us that single-family homes are better for the environment than apartment buildings. And then it says, and economists tell us it's not possible. And at the same time, economists are telling us that the U.S. population is shrinking. And I feel pretty sure that only an economist can explain all of this to me. And this person wrote, how about no? I'm a dog person and they need a yard. I also enjoy having friends and family over for get-togethers. And you need room for gatherings. Kids need parties. Kids needs yards to play. And plus, I simply want the privacy and quiet that comes with a single-family home. So suck it. And then it says, this next one, this article brought to you by BlackRock. And then it says, this other person says, I take all that land and build a single-family home. And then it says, not everyone likes living crammed upside the person next to them. Some of us like our privacy and space. America doesn't need to do anything. Single-family homes are the American dream for a reason. Did a 2-year-old write this? It says, thank you. It has nothing to do with space. It's privacy. No one respects their neighbors. So why should I be forced to live next to them? 2 to 3 bad neighbors can make a whole building miserable. And then I went to click the rest of it. It's not there. It says, way ahead of you, my house is easily big enough for 3 or 4 families. And then this one here, you can't have pets that need to run in condos or apartments. If you have a pet that needs to run, may I suggest going outside and running with the pet? And then this person says, I have a suggestion. You go ahead and live as you choose, and the rest of us will live as we choose. And then this person wrote, affordable, okay. Consultants have estimated that the infrastructure on the site will cost around $400 million, which includes improvements to the local highway, water treatment plant, and sewer system, and roads and trails in the development. And then this one here is the one that I thought kind of was where I'm standing. Yes, let's continue to downgrade the quality of life in the U.S. Maybe we can get some lovely communist block type apartment buildings going. It's selfish to want more, right? And that's just where I'm at. This idea that you're going to tell us that we can't have something that we've had for generations because why? Because you've just decided that we're not allowed to have it? What is this? What is this garbage? Just drives me insane. I'm going to move it here just because I like it a little bit better for today. So anyway, right? What do we know about the internet and Twitter? We know that people read headlines and they don't go read the article. So I thought, hey, let's go read the article. Okay, it says, America needs to leave it and its love affair with single-family homes. One town is discovering it's a tough sell. Now, it starts off with this fellow, Jason Peasley, made his case for Brown Ranch, a development that would grow the size of his city by 1/3 and finally provide some affordable housing for the hundreds of people doubled up in trailer parks and hotel rooms in the ski town. The development would use density to solve the housing problem, mainly by building apartments and attached homes. So there's also another part to this, okay? It's this idea that you will own nothing and like it. And that's the part that really drives me crazy, okay? Like originally, not saying that was okay. I kind of think it made more sense. To vote, you needed to own a piece of property in the United States. You needed to own something. This here, you have people voting all the time that rent. No big deal, right? But they're voting on property tax increases. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now, I'm sure you can come at me with all kinds of other things, but by and large, as a voter, if you own something, maybe you'd conserve it a little bit more. It's the same thing with private ownership of property. If you own a house, maybe you would take care of it a little more. Now, is that always true? As a real estate agent, I'm telling you, there are people that shouldn't own houses. I've walked through them. They're terrible. Okay, I get it. Okay, but the question is the percentage. That is the percentage of how many homes, if a person owned it versus a corporation, of those homes, what would be the percentage of homes that actually turned out great versus the chances that the homes turn out terribly? In my belief system, which you can criticize all you'd like, private ownership is still better than corporate ownership. So my first problem with this is you're going to take away the opportunity for someone to own a single family home and put them into a multi-unit, a multi-family dwelling. And then they're going to pay rent to someone else and they will own nothing. I don't want to live in a world where I don't own anything. We've already kind of gone to that direction. We don't really own our phones. We don't really own them. I mean, the software gets old and it dies. It's done. I know cars are going that way. When we all have electric cars, who's going to want to have a 30-year-old electric car? No one. We used to buy software. So I used to have a version of Windows, okay, that I owned. I used to own Excel. I used to own all these Office productives, Windows. It was Microsoft Office. I owned it all, okay? All gone to subscription models. I don't own anything. Software as a service. It's not great. It's not a move forward in my life. Paying subscriptions for this and that, not a move forward in any way. So I'm totally disgusted by this. And somebody says, what about single family homes? A woman standing in the back of the meeting room asked, because I'd like to buy one someday. And then it says Steamboat Springs, Colorado, which I've been, and it's beautiful, where Peasley serves as the head of the Yampa Valley Housing Authority, providing affordable housing to all of Routt County, is a mountain town that draws people for its wide open vistas and outdoor space. Now, see, this is where it gets interesting. Who elected this fellow to be the head of this organization? Does his views matter in carrying out his job? I ask that because there's a question of, to me, I would say a question of agency at this point. For instance, in like San Francisco, you hired a district attorney, that probably isn't really going out of their way to, follow the law. They refuse to prosecute certain crimes that are on the books. There's a lot of talk about the Second Amendment right now, but there's a lot of people across the country not following those laws either. So we're going to add more laws to laws that people don't follow, or only a select few need to follow. I have a real problem with that. And so we also have government agencies that are tasked with things like immigration, and they're doing a terrible job. The people that are doing it are in agencies. They weren't voted in. The head of Homeland Security is not voted on by the people. I mean, it's really, really, really bad. But anyway, this fellow it says 9 months ago, he'd been given an opportunity that most urban planners dream of, an anonymous donation of 536 acres of land to build long-term affordable housing for people who live and work in Steamboat Springs. But it's difficult to get buy-in to use hundreds of acres to build multifamily homes in Steamboat, which currently has 1,400 fewer housing units than are currently needed. Residents might support density in theory, but what they really want is a single-family home to call their own. That's right. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with people wanting things? We talk about aspirational products. Like we talk about somebody may want a BMW or a Mercedes or maybe a Tesla. That's an aspirational purchase. We want a single family home. Now, let me tell you something. I show lots of houses. A lot of them are crap. I mean, have you seen what $100,000 gets you in St. Louis right now? It's not good. It's not good. Not at all. But you know what? That's better than nothing. It's better than paying someone else to live somewhere. This is my opinion. It says how Steamboat solves this conundrum could have implications for communities across the country that are struggling with affordability as their populations grow. And let me just point out that when they talk about affordability, they don't mean the affordability that you and I think of. Okay. You think of affordability as this. Hey, this costs X. My job pays me this. I can afford this home. No. Their idea of affordability is we don't care what you make. You don't get this house. Your job doesn't matter. We need to find the most destitute person to be able to get into this house. And by affordable, we mean at rates or terms that you can't have. You are therefore a special class of people that can only have this home, this affordable. And God forbid that your financial circumstances change, because then you wouldn't be allowed to live in the affordable housing. You see, you have to move on because we only accept a certain group of people that fits within this odd mishmash of policies that may work in one community, but not in another community. It's very, very strange. And then here's the thing. It says, home prices have soared in the past 2 years in cities like Austin and Phoenix, as well as in ski towns like Truckee and Sun Valley. Adding more dense housing units would help keep prices affordable because many of these places have natural boundaries like mountains or ocean that prevent developers from sprawling out. But that's not really true, and we'll get to that in the article. So it says, but proposals like Peasley's are usually thwarted by neighbors who complain about their views being blocked or their parking becoming limited or their beloved town, which they themselves moved to years or decades before, getting too crowded. You see, that's one of the things that I've loved about America. You see, if you mention like, hey, maybe we should do something about immigration. Maybe we should do something about it. I don't know what, but maybe we should do something about immigration. And the person will say slyly, well, weren't your immigrants? Didn't they move here? That's the one they use every time. Well, aren't you an immigrant? So how can you dare say that we need to do something about immigration now? It's bizarre. It's bizarre to me. So you're saying I'm a hypocrite because I think that we should probably have an immigration policy that makes sense for people, that doesn't harm people, like the citizens. And it's very tough for me to understand this. And then, like, just understand, if you have a beautiful place, people will want to move to it. If you have a beautiful place and terrible policies, people will want to leave from it. Look at California. Are there more people moving into California right now or more people moving out? Then look at Florida. Are there more people moving into Florida or more people moving out? Will this always be the same? No. We have this thing called the Rust Belt in the Midwest. Okay. People leave Missouri all the time to go other places, to Florida, to Texas. Okay. That happens all the time. At one point in time, people actually moved to be in St. Louis. We were the gateway to the West. We controlled banking. We controlled trade. It was wonderful in St. Louis. That time's gone. That time's gone. So this idea that people move, they move because they feel they get value. There's a reason they move to these places. And when they don't feel like they're getting enough value, they will leave. That's migration. That's population migration. It happens. It says many communities like Steamboat are reaching a breaking point. Here, the need for more housing has been abundantly clear even before the pandemic, as investors turned condos into apartments, or condos and apartments that had once provided workforce housing, into cash cows on Airbnb. Okay, this is a policy. You allowed people to do this. You allowed Airbnb to operate in your community. You allowed this. This was not anything other than that. They ran up the prices. You can say the dirty investor did it. Well, what was your policy against short-term rentals? Then in 2020, remote workers, this goes along to a broader purpose of you're making single-family homes unaffordable because of policies that you put in place. Okay? And one of those is short-term rentals. Okay? One of those is having rentals in single-family neighborhoods. One of those is allowing people from Wall Street to buy thousands and thousands of homes across the United States. Maybe that's not a good plan. Maybe a better plan would be to protect the single-family homeowner. Okay? Maybe that would be the way to go. But we don't do that. We don't do that. Like, think about the whole idea of the Karen, right? That person that woman that annoys you because they're trying to protect some sort of weird policy. Let's talk about HOAs. Those people are under fire all the time for trying to protect something in their neighborhood. Now you say, well, they don't apply things uniformly. They're absolutely, they're petty. I hate HOAs. Okay, don't get me wrong. But when people go to enforce rules, or when people go to make rules, or when we want to do something about single family homes, you know, it's always trivialized. Why can't I grow my grass 6 feet tall? Why can't I have bees in my front yard so that my neighbors get, you know, like, oh, great, we get to live with bees all around us all the time because bees are wonderful. Well, you think bees are wonderful. I mean, I'm okay with them, but I don't want 6,000 of them next to me. You know, so there's all these weird things we have to deal with these single family home life. But there's been no protection to the single family homeowner, at least that I know of, in a long, long time. So it says the median listing prices of a single family home in Steamboat is now $829,000, up from $529,000 in 2019. Rents for a one-bedroom apartment are hovering around $2,100, about one-third higher than the national average. Okay, well, let's talk about this. Here's an uncomfortable truth to me. I'm a real estate broker in St. Louis, Missouri. My wife is a social worker. I can't afford a $529,000 house. I couldn't afford that in 2019. Okay. I'm sorry. I sure as hell can't afford an $829,000 house. Okay. You know what that means? It means I can't live there. It means there's nothing that they can do to get me to live there because I can't afford it. Okay. They've made it so I can't afford it with their policies. It says, By July 2021, 60% of Americans said they'd prefer to live in a place where the homes are large and further apart, even if schools, stores, and restaurants were a few miles away, up from 53% before the pandemic. In contrast, 39% preferred a community where homes were small and close to each other, but where schools, stores, and restaurants were in walking distance, down 47% from 2019. My entire life, it's been a myth. This idea that people want walkable communities, myth, absolute myth. When it snows, I don't want to be walking. Okay? I don't want to live in a big city. I want to be able to drive. I like driving. I like it. I like to be able to go wherever I want, when I want. Okay? Like today, I'm going to show a bunch of houses all over the place, and I'm going to be totally happy doing it. Okay? I don't want to be in a city. I don't care. I don't want to be in a walkable community. This is me. Okay? You're welcome to do whatever you want to. The vast majority of people, based on this survey, say they don't want it either. But here we go. It says Steamboat could build 7 attached homes for the amount it would cost to build one single family detached home, according to projections by McMuffin, a consulting group helping with the project. Helping with the project. Are they helping for free? It says, but no matter how many times Peasley explains this to all the community, even the most self-aware residents of Steamboat are having a hard time letting go of their vision of a home and yard to call their home. I wonder why that is. The disconnect we're having is that everyone wants the American dream, a single-family home, and economists tell us that that's not possible. Who are these economists, and why do we trust them? Are all economists saying this, or your economists saying this? That's the issue. That's the issue. So far, you're using a consultant that's helping, and you're using all economists to say that we can't have that. And that's not true. That's not true. America is huge. We can have a lot of things. You just don't want us to have them. The surest way to wealth in America has long been to stake claim to a plot of land and a home. But places like Steamboat are discovering that if they are dedicated to welcoming everyone who wants to live there, they're going to have to pioneer another way. Let's be honest. If you're in Steamboat Springs, you're not welcoming everyone to be there. You don't want everyone there. That's why the prices are so high. That's why you limit building in the community, okay? You don't want everyone living there. The reason why Steamboat Springs is beautiful is because not everyone lives there. They can't afford it. That was true 10 years ago. You know, this is why it's so ridiculous. Why in the world would you say now we're going to be welcoming? You're not welcoming at all. $529,000, $859,000 for a house is not welcoming. And it wasn't ever designed that way. Okay? This wasn't built for you, the normal person, the normal worker. This is a joke. Okay? Then we have all this wonderful discussion, but it says, worried about sprawl, some cities started establishing urban growth boundaries in the 1950s, limiting development outside a certain area. The boundaries preserved the open space that drew people west, but also limited housing production. Today in Steamboat Springs, development outside the urban growth boundary is restricted to 1 unit every 35 acres or less. That puts even more pressure on building density where it is allowed. Brown Ranch is the largest plot of undeveloped land inside Steamboat's urban growth boundary. Your own policies are making houses more expensive. Your own policies. And you're going to say that now everyone has to live in multifamily homes because of what your policies are? It says, but Americans' preference for single-family homes has also contributed to the housing undersupply that has sent prices soaring over the last 2 years. You say that. Americans' preference for single-family homes, okay, is not contributing to the housing undersupply. What's contributing to the housing undersupply is these stupid projects where we have to have all this multifamily stuff. We have to have all this green space. We have to protect every single animal that's ever walked the face of the earth. Okay. And you can't build a development here, and you can't build a development here, and you can't build a development anywhere. We just can't have single family homes. And we've hired people, we've elected people to keep this up. Not in my backyard, NIMBYism. That's what's keeping houses from being built. Okay. I'm sorry. That's what's going on. It says between 1970 and 1920, 52 million single family homes were built in America, accounting for 3/4 of all the housing built over that time. Over that same time, the population grew by 128 million. As a result, the median price of a home in the U.S. more than doubled over that time, even when adjusted for inflation. Well, where are all these people coming from? Where are all these people coming from? Is every family just having 6 kids? What's going on? Why is the population rising by 128 million? Like, what's possibly going on? Are government policies encouraging population growth? I mean, I'm blown away that you have a government that produces problem after problem after problem. And people either say we need more government, okay, or this is a problem that we see. I wonder how that could possibly be that. How did that happen? Well, it's government policy. We just mentioned in the article. Oh, wait a minute. It can't be that, because the government is all knowing. The government is all powerful. The government never makes a mistake. It's ridiculous. And you say, well, you can't just say the government, okay? Because there's different governments and they're all failing. That's right. You have the federal government failed, have state governments failed, local governments failed. I mean, it's just a disaster. When it says this is playing out across states in the American West, Colorado's population doubled between 1980 and 2020, adding 2.8 million people, but the state only built 1.4 million units over the same period, 70% of them single-family homes. The median price for a single-family home in 2020 was $434,000. Today it's around $600,000. Now look, you've made it so it's impossible to build a single-family home cheaply. In my subdivision, my grandparents bought a house. They were the first ones in for $10,000. $10,000 in 1960. Houses in this neighborhood right now are selling for $340,000, $350,000, $360,000. What's to account for that? They're nice houses. They're not that nice. And we don't even live in a good part of town. I mean, there are parts of town that are much more expensive for much less. I'm looking at 700 square foot homes, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, going for $300,000 in places like Kirkwood and Brentwood. Okay. What is that about? Was that because we're not building enough houses? Well, there's some dirty secrets that go on in real estate. Let's talk about it real quick. Let's go to certain parts of St. Louis City. Let's go to certain parts of St. Louis County. Why are those home prices lower? Significantly lower. What's that about? What is that about? Why are people refusing to live in certain parts of town? Is it racism? Is it economics? What is the reason? But there's a lot of homes that aren't being occupied, and there's a lot of homes that are available. They're certainly affordable right now. I can show you homes on the MLS that are $60,000 or less right now in my city. So it's a real, I'm not going to say there's going to be a reckoning. There's not going to be a coming to Jesus moment. There's not going to be anything. But when you see this stuff, okay, you've just got to wonder what is going on. It says the families committed to staying or crowding into housing as they wait for a solution. About 1/4 of all children now live in doubled up households where a nuclear family lives with additional family members. Now, I've been told time and time again that this is a wonderful thing. In fact, that we need to build houses with mother-in-law suites and things of this nature. That's what I've been told. Okay. But then it says in places like Steamboat, doubled up households are often in the smallest homes, which are trailers in the town's handful of trailer parks. In doubled up households, the use of drugs and alcohol rises as does domestic violence, because the situation is so stressful, says Irene Avitia, who works with families at Integrated Communities, a Steamboat nonprofit that works with the Latino community. So now you're telling me that all these people that have lived in other countries and they have, generations of family members living in the same house, and it's wonderful. And if we could only do that in the United States, now you're telling me that if we do it in the United States, it's a bad thing because it leads to drug and alcohol abuse rises, domestic violence increases because the situation is so stressful. I don't know what to make of this. I've been told 2 different things now. It says even people who live in apartments in Steamboat now say they'd prefer a single family home. Lizzie Conan grew up in a single family home in San Diego that she says her parents would never be able to afford today. There you go. Why do we not have affordable housing? Why is housing more expensive? Government policies are making it that way. And don't forget, like, even if you could afford a house, even if you can afford to own a house, you still have to pay taxes, which are ridiculous. Okay? It's a racket. It says she moved to Steamboat about 12 years ago and wants to stay there, but the lease on the one bedroom she rents is up in July, and the owner wants to demolish the building and construct a multi-million-dollar home that he can sell for a profit. And that's his right in my America. That's what he wants to do. That's what he wants to do. The government should stay the hell out of it. Conan knows she'll probably have to move to Oak Creek or Hayden, smaller towns that are 30 to 45 minutes away, because she can't afford to buy a house or pay $2,100 a month for an apartment. But when asked for what her vision of Brown Ranch says, she said, I would like to own a single family home and have pets and children running around. I would rather not be in an apartment building. It doesn't feel as homey. And that's just the deal. Like, people want to live in single family homes. You've made it impossible for them to do that. You've made it so that they will own nothing and like it, or you're trying to get to that spot. But let's, this is the part that I love. It says selling people on apartments. The big challenge for Peasley is balancing the wants of people like Avitia and Conan with the larger community's need for affordable housing. So it says this. It says, look, because you want okay, a single family home, and because this other person wants a single family home, you don't understand. Your rights, your belief, your desires, they don't matter, because the larger community, which we will not define, which is some nebulous thing, it needs affordable housing. It needs affordable housing. The larger community. And how do we know it needs affordable housing? Because it says so. It declares it. And this person, Peasley, is the spokesperson for the larger community, and that's where it is. That's what you do. It says he's trying to learn from past missteps. Like in 2010, when developers committed to building thousands of condos, the city council approved it, and then enraged voters worrying about overcrowding put the project on the ballot and was soundly defeated. Now, look, you should be able to vote. You should be able to vote on things. When it was soundly defeated, there was a reason for that. Maybe it was a bad idea. Maybe the people, I know this sounds weird. Did you ever think that maybe communities, the citizens that own things actually work in their own self-interest? Is it possible? Is it possible that they want very expensive housing to keep the quote unquote riffraff out? The people living on the other side of the tracks. Did you ever think that maybe so many of them benefit from this housing problem, the affordability problem? So many of them benefit that they don't want to go back to a situation where houses are affordable. That affects their property values. All I'm saying is it's a much more complex issue than what we're playing around with. Okay. And I've noticed that the discourse around many things is never about, it's never about, hey, maybe people are working in their own self-interest. Maybe people are being paid to work on a different side. Maybe we're not getting the true voice, the quote unquote true voice of the group. And especially in this article, we're not getting the true voice of the citizen. When we do, these people like Avtitia, I'm going with right now because I'm trying to be respectful, but I don't know what her last name is. And Conan, those people don't count all of a sudden. Now all of a sudden the larger community matters. Anyway, it says this time around, Peasley is trying to get residents as involved as possible before any major decisions are made, which, by the way, the decisions have already been made. You just aren't going to know about them until it's too late. The Housing Authority has held 200 community meetings where residents have spoken about what they want for Brown Ranch. Let me tell you about this. This is a funny trick that I've seen people play. The NFL plays this trick. Okay. So if you want to move your franchise, the NFL says you have to have a town hall. Okay. Well, what do you think the people at the town hall are going to say? We don't want you to move the team. Okay. It's just for show. It's just for show. It's like you've had an opportunity to express what you want, as a community, but we don't care. That's not our job. Our job is to get this done. Okay, we're going to build these multi-family units, and you're going to like it or not, but it's going to happen. And by the way, there will be no accountability for any of this. Where you have some account, and I say some, in like a small town developer, okay, if he's loaning money if he's getting a loan from the bank, and his development fails, okay, he goes into bankruptcy. All right, there's some accountability. If a housing council, okay, not for profit, tries to do something, there's no accountability. In fact, if they fail, the person that directed it will probably get promoted to a different position, one of more personal wealth and power. It's very, very odd. You fail upwards in these organizations. So anyway, it says people want, we want a roof garden, we want hiking trails, community composting, greenhouses, a school, a grocery store, a coffee shop, but a walkable commercial area, and of course, single family homes. Now, that's the problem. We can have all those other things, but we can't have single family homes. That's just impossible. It says, Peasley says, more community engagement is what's going to get people closer to accepting that how Brown Ranch will look will be different than their ideal vision. You see, it's already baked in. We already know what we're doing. You're just out there and you're being dumb by even spending time at these meetings because we don't care. We know what we're doing. It says, for example, attendees of Brown Ranch meetings often mention that they want development to be net zero, which provides an opportunity for the YVHA staff to explain that density is very sustainable. Apartments or attached units require fewer resources to build and maintain than single-family homes. That's right. And when you're an investor, you want to buy a multifamily home over a single-family home because multifamily homes only have one roof over maybe 4 units. So you can make more money. And by the way, that's it. You're taking the power away from the individual, okay, and we're putting it in the hands of investors. Okay. It says by doing this transparent process and having the community discuss it, it's like, we're going to do this. You can talk about it. This is what we're doing. That's transparency. We hope that while we may not agree, they at least understand, says Cole Hewitt, the president of the board of the Yampa Valley Housing Authority. Okay. Maybe there aren't as many people that show up and say, well, I didn't know that was going on. They can stand up and say, I'm a part of it. I understand it. I get where you're coming from. I still disagree with it, but that's a lot better discussion than no, don't do it. It's such a bizarre concept. Okay. You get people to stand up and say, I don't want you to do this. And they say, well, that's great. Now we've had transparency. Now you've expressed that we don't want you to do that. We're going to do it anyway. It's so bad. It's so bad. It says the people who led the opposition to the past development seem to be getting on board. Oh, Tim Rouse, who led the campaign that stopped development on Brown Ranch in 2009, told me recently that he thinks the housing authority is planning the development in the best possible way, and he supports it wholeheartedly. He told me this from his mansion perched on acres of virgin land outside of Steamboat. Sheila Henderson, the Brown Ranch project manager who headed a local nonprofit for nearly a decade, says she recently had a good talk with a woman who wanted her own cute little cottage on Brown Ranch. When Henderson explained that such a home might take away space from families who were living in unsafe conditions, though, the woman relented and said she would be open to living in a multifamily home. You see, you're not allowed to live in a single family home because you're taking that opportunity for someone who's living in a worse situation to live there. You're literally being rewarded for having a worse situation than someone else. That's really screwed up. That's really screwed up. Here, you have a terrible situation. You go first to the line. Here, you go ahead and get this nice house. What do you think that's going to get? What do you think that's going to bring? More worse situations. Like, I mean, it just blows my mind. And like, I care about all these people, okay? I care about all of these people, all of them. The people that are millionaires, the people that don't have anything. And you're hurting everyone by these policies. Everyone gets hurt by these policies. Whether or not Brown Ranch gets built will likely depend on the persuasion powers of Peasley. Now, this guy isn't even the head of the Yampa Valley Housing Agency. Now, we've talked about him all the time, but there's actually another guy. Why isn't that guy doing this job? He says he wants to change people's vision of what a vibrant American community can look like. It doesn't have driveways and parking lots, for instance. The only way we fail is if we stop trying. Besides, he said, for more than a century, people have given up creature comforts to move to steamboat for the access to mountains and a life of beauty. That might have meant giving up plumbing or getting used to snow in May in the past. Now it might be being okay living in a house that shares a wall with a neighbor. How you can compare not having plumbing or the quote unquote old West with today's living standards is beyond me. It says Brown Ranch will, of course, add further strain. Beasley estimated that by the time Brown Ranch is finished, it will have almost 1,000 rental apartments, so no private ownership. Great, 400 to own. Okay, well, 400, I'm sorry. 218 single-family attached units for rent and 266 to purchase, and 98 single-family detached homes for rent and 300 to purchase. Well, there you go. You need more single-family homes. The development will also include a K-8 school, a child care center, office space, retail, and a grocery store. Get rid of all of it and build single-family homes. You already have shopping centers in Steamboat. I've been to them. It's enough to make old-timers argue against population growth in Steamboat. Everybody's moving here. I have to tell you, it would be nice if they wouldn't. Cindy Clark, a resident since 1988, told me outside the crowded grocery store parking lot. That's right. That's right. And how do you keep people from moving there, Cindy? You keep the property prices really, really high. You make it so people can't afford to live there. And then you say, well, wait a minute. Now, if we do that, like, how do we best get that? Well, we then make up committees, and then we have organizations devoted to things like affordable housing that either never get completed or, they're always made sure to be putting those places in areas where no one else wants to live. So we tell people that they're doing like yeoman's work. Okay. They're doing a wonderful job. And then what you're really doing is you're working on behalf of the population that says, look, we don't want all these people here. This is how it's done. So again, going back, I don't know if I have it. I'm going to check. Let's go back. We read through some of these. I read the article. I disagree. This is what they want. This is what they want you to live in. Okay. It's terrible. It says, yeah, I want constant noise, rude neighbors, and if I'm super lucky, the crazy guy 3 doors down accidentally burns our building down after he falls asleep with a lit cigarette. Or I can just buy a single-family home for less money per month. I mean, it says everyone wants the American dream, a single-family home, and economists tell us it's not possible. Do they tell us this from their apartments? Somebody wrote, no, they yell it from their waterfront single-family homes. It says, how likely is it the people who own Time Magazine or even the person who wrote this article would do this themselves? It's just meant for the plebes. It says, just live in a pod, you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. And said, this guy here, I remember a news article from the 80s where Nicolae Ceausescu had instituted a program where people were being removed from their homes in rural areas and moved into the same communist-style housing blocks in cities that are being pushed here. What about China? What about China right now? I'm sorry, you can't see it. I didn't put it up, but anyway, I mean, it's just ridiculous. But what did it do? What did this article do? Well, here's what it did. It allowed for time to hopefully get more views on Twitter, hopefully get somebody on their website. I don't know what the subscription rate is. I mean, that's what it did. That's what it did. There's all these people that are, I mean, like, the government has been captured by what I would call like a technocrat, an elitist technocrat. And these policies that come out are always against any type of ownership by an individual. That's the way it is. It's over. We're going to see more of this. I don't have a problem, like, as a real estate agent, as you know, I have my degree in real estate and construction management. I don't mind if you build multifamily units. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. I want it to be highest and best use for all the property. And you say, well, you know, multifamily units are the highest and best use. Well, most of the time they are. I mean, if you look at downtown cities, most of that area is, most of it was commercial. Most of it was industrial. You know, high rises, big square footage office buildings, things of this nature. And what happened the last time? You know, what happened in the 2000s in major urban centers like, say, Detroit? Well, the things that weren't shuttered commercially were turned into residential units, which was a lower quality product for those spaces, but the only product that was possible to be had. You know, the businesses had moved out. The commercial areas were no longer needed. If you look at Tiger Stadium right now, I think across the street at the train station, Ford somehow bought that and is going to turn it into turn it into office space. But around Tiger Stadium and stuff, all that stuff mostly got turned into residential. Corktown, it's called. That's what it is. Anyway, I don't know. I'd like to believe that this article would start a conversation in my comments or in my chat. I'm smart enough to know at this point that the 4 people or 5 people that actually watch this video probably aren't commenting. But, you know, down the road, if you see it and if you know, maybe you think I'm totally wrong. Maybe you think I've said inflammatory things. I apologize, I guess. I don't mean to be inflammatory. I'm just tired of being told, like, people write these articles that America needs to do this. We're all in this together. I'm not in this together. I'm not. You guys have gone off the rails and I don't want to be a part of it. All this stuff is just ridiculous. It's always the next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next big thing? I just hate it. And this is just a perfect example of something where government policies have not worked. If you say, let the free market decide. I've seen this argument. We talk about it with Twitter and YouTube and things. It's a private company. They can do whatever they want. You know, I've seen it all. I've seen all the arguments, and all I can say is I see what's happening. And again, my life has not gotten better in the time I've been on this planet in America. And I don't feel our country is better now than it was 40 years ago when I was born. I really don't. So I don't know. But let me say this, you know, do people have more wealth than they did 40 years ago? Some. I mean, some people are doing much better than they ever did. But that doesn't mean like my quality of life is better right now than it was 40 years ago. So with that, I'm going to head on out. I'll get to the stuff that we were supposed to talk about tomorrow, hopefully 9. You never know with me, right? It's always one thing or another. But thank you for watching. I will catch you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Come be here, hang out. We'll talk about today. See if that does any good. I'm going to head out. I will talk to you.